everyone. I hope you all are doing well. This side Priya Bhatia. And in this specific video, we will be starting our next discussion about RAG. Till so far, I'm assuming that you have watched the previous two episodes where we have talked about what is generative AI, uh, why this specific domain is quite booming. We have talked about the basic foundational concepts of NLP as well in our very first episode. In fact, I have posted the quiz questions as well yesterday, and I have observed many people have participated in that as well. Now, after that, there was a second episode where we have seen that how we can build the end-to-end project of agentic AI. In the starting of the discussion, we have talked about what actually is agentic AI and why it is quite booming. In fact, I have showcased you few real-time examples for the same. That video is specifically designed for members because the video duration is almost 3 hours, and I really want only those people who are actually interested, and the membership is not that much expensive as well. So, if you are someone who is interested in building the project of Agentic AI, you can go ahead and check that out. In the episode 3, which is again publicly live for everyone, we will be discussing about the basics of RAG. In the starting, I will be discussing the learners project part. Like I had given a task in the episode number 2, and there are few learners who have showcased and demonstrate that. So I am discussing that and giving the feedback to them. And after that, I will be talking about the intuition behind RAG. And the last episode will be focusing on the implementation of RAG. So this video builds a foundation of what is RAG, how basically we will approach the code part, what are the things which are required, so that in episode number 4, no one will have a difficulty in order to understand that how we are doing a practical implementation of this. So without wasting any time, let's get started, and please make sure if you are enjoying this series, share with everyone, do subscribe my channel and hit like button. It would really means a lot to me. With that, let's get started.
Hmm. I got the response now. Responses are good, it seems. Here is a simple plug and play 1 week plan to hit your deadline. Clarify and log scope, break down work, set the week schedule, day by day plan, daily quick routines, lightweight tracker, communication, risk controls. If you fall behind, quick checkup, setup checklist. So responses are wonderful, one thing which I would definitely say. But yes, so Arpit have mentioned one interesting thing, which I also feel that's the next feedback which I want to share to you. Maybe if you want to change the platform from Gradu to maybe Streamlit, uh, it might be the case that things will fasten a bit, or just try to check in your code. I feel the code is somewhat similar to what we have done, right, in our live session. So it should give us a faster response. Latency should not be this much huge, because you know, right, no one nowadays have a time to wait this much amount of time to see the output. So that's the thing which where you obviously have to work on it. Otherwise, I really like this. I really like this. I will definitely, after this session, go ahead and check the other tools as well. One more thing which I'm expecting from everyone in this batch is uh, I hope everybody have their own GitHub profile. So the main target of this workshop is that you will build something which you can showcase in the interviews, maybe in your companies with respect to whatever work you have done. So the important thing is whatever things you're creating right now, once you are ready, I really want everybody's GitHub repo. And inside that, for example, for just a few minutes back, I asked to her, what are these things indicate to me? As a person, I don't know what you have mentioned. What do you mean by practical problem solver? So your repository should have a readme file. For example, let me just give you one simple example of what I'm trying to convey. Let's say this is one of my project. Now, if you will go inside this project, I have a proper readme, how the flow of the project is, what I have done, what are the results which I am getting, and if possible try to attach a video link as well. I always say, because these things nobody have a time maybe to just go and check your code. At least if you can attach a proper video is something, if possible have your own face where you're explaining your code and everything. That would be number, like, that would be the best thing you can do for yourself, because these things works especially at that point of time where someone have lesser amount of time to check your work, maybe the HRs, maybe the interviewers. So at least they can see, right? Otherwise obviously they have to do the setup, and accordingly they will be able to check your code and test your code. But everybody doesn't have the time to first of all do the setup and then check what you are doing. So better idea could be, for example, when you see my YouTube videos, it's very simple, no as such edits are there, kind of a row, but my own face is also there, and in the background screen is there. If you feel that no, I don't have any good camera where I can do these things, so it's okay. Then maybe at least your voice should be there, and you're explaining that what each part of your code is doing and how it is giving us the appropriate response. This is something which is very very important nowadays, and this will be really helpful for you in future as well. When you look back on your project and you want to see that okay, what things I have done over here, you won't believe me. There are videos which I have uploaded, let's say 2 years back, maybe let's say for DSA. Today, obviously, maybe I don't remember that concept. I usually go on my YouTube channel and watch that video. So these things always be helpful, because we actually easily able to understand our own things, because we know we have done it. It's just that we just have to revise it. So please do it at your end. I'm looking forward to this kind of a README file. Proper codes will be there. Proper documentation will be there. If you have any reporting, any dashboard you have created for whatever work you have done, or if you have hosted somewhere, links should be there in your result, so that anyone can go and check on that link and see how the output is coming up. I hope you're getting my point. So in you can create a folder for GenAI workshop. Inside that, two tasks I have shared, and for those two tasks, a separate folder will be there. Separate README file will be there, and the codes will be uploaded over there. Is it making sense to everyone? What I'm trying to convey over here? All good. Is this fine? How to make video? Usually, I used to make video via OBS. It's a free tool available, I think, for all the kind of platforms. If I will just showcase you, this is the OBS Studio which I am using. It's very simple to use. You can just check any of the YouTube video for the installation and for the setting per se. But let me tell you, it's very, very simple, free of cost, no as such hefty payment you have to do to create a quality video. And this is something which I usually do via, creating the videos for my own YouTube platform as well. So you can do it. You can install it, do the setting, you will find easily the videos over there. If you face any sort of difficulty, anyhow, I am here in the group. You can always let me know, and I will try to respond to you as soon as possible. All good? Is this fine? And this way you will be able to get to know that how can we create videos as well. Now the generation is more oriented towards content generation. I hope everybody knows. Content creation is very interesting field coming up in these years. So you guys should know how can we create these wonderful videos and post it. At least whatever work you are doing, that is something which should be there. In an interview, do we have to showcase this with GitHub repo, or by implementing it in a on Streamlit or somewhere else? See, it's always good if you can host it on a website, and that is something which you can showcase as an end-to-end product. I can share with you one wonderful video for Streamlit, because we are not covering up this specific topic, but I have a wonderful resource of one of my friend um who recently created one video on Streamlit, and I watched it. It's one of the wonderful resource. Not a big video, but you will find that how can you host your work. So this is the video I have shared in the chat. So this is by Hitesh. I hope everybody knows him. And if you will see, This is the complete end-to-end Streamlit course for Python developers. If you will watch this video, you will get to know it's so simple. It's not at all difficult. Conceptual understanding is difficult. Hosting it is not difficult. So if there's anyone in this batch who is not really aware how can we host our work on Streamlit, go ahead, check this video, watch it. I think it's of almost 1 hour. At max, it will take you only 2 hours, and there's nothing beyond than this you have to work on. So if you will watch it completely, you will be able to host the work, whatever we have done in this workshop as well. So if you will ask from me, I would definitely go ahead and say that, better to host it on some website that will give a different feel altogether. Because what happens, sometimes when people saw the code, they get afraid. Oh, this is very huge. What could be there inside this? But when you post it somewhere, it brings clarity, and then you can explain step by step what things you have done, and you can add in your resume one more skill set as a Streamlit, which after completing this video. And it's very simple. It's very easy. All good? Any other doubt anyone is having? Shall we move ahead? I will attach, by the way, this link also in the documentation, so that in future, if any new learner will also get enrolled, or anyone who is not joining me live, they will also able to get an idea where they have to refer. Shall we move ahead now further? Perfect. Our objective is to learn about RAG, one of the very interesting topic, and you will heard this name quite frequently nowadays. So what is the full form of RAG? If you will search this term on the web, you will find very interesting articles on this. I will open this article by AWS. And here, let me just share this link as well in the chat window. So I can see there are a few people who wants to come on stage. I will accept these requests maybe after the discussion of today, and then we can do a chit chat further. But in the meantime, you can just write your queries in the chat window, right? So you can see the RAG full form is Retrieval Augmented Generation. I hope everybody can see this. Retrieval Augmented Generation. So here you can see it's the process of optimizing the output of LLM. So it references an authoritative knowledge base outside of its training data sources before generating a response. Not really sure how many of you understood this specific definition, but let me give you one brief context about this. Uh, so we have till so far talked about agentic AI. We have talked about tools. How can we create different sort of tools? Now let me ask you a question. The question is that if, let's say, I have my own company's data, maybe that data is available in any database. So it is available in any DB, or maybe the data is available in the form of a PDF. There can be multiple PDFs, or maybe the data is available in the form of documents. So in this specific scenario, when we will be having a different sort of DB, it may be PostgreSQL, it may be MySQL, it may be any other database, whatever you can think of. The point is, if your query is related to accessing any of the content which is available in the personal platform of the companies, and if let's say you're asking this query to the large language model, so here we will be having LLMs. The question is, will you be able to ask the query? You will be, but will you be able to get a appropriate response for the same? Will you be able to get the appropriate answer, appropriate response for the same? No, right? You won't be able to get it. Why? Because this is something which is an internal document, and companies don't want to place this document on the public platform for the public person, right? And Obviously, that will be data leakage for the company. And if they are directly asking some sort of questions, which is basically internal to the company, confidential to the company, my LLM won't be able to give me the answer. That is the biggest issue, right? I don't want to ask any generalized question. Okay, if I have some generalized question, my nowadays I have LLMs, it will be able to give me the answer. But this is not my concern today. My concern is a bit different. I hope you're getting my point. My concern is that if let's say a doctor is there, doctor have some confidential data of patients, that doctor cannot upload that data in any of the LLM based tools to get the access or to get the answer, right? It's not that they can upload a CSV based file to this LLM based tools, maybe because of the security reasons. So at that point of time, how these things will work, how my uh, system will be able to understand the query and give the answer. And if that is not feasible, then what's the actual benefit of these tools, these large language based models, right? It won't be able to give me the ease to do any of the, I would say, industry work. Then what's the benefit of this? Is it for generalized purpose only? No, it's not the case. Nowadays, you will see that people have their internal large language based tools. Every company have their own, I would say, LLM based tools working internally. So what they're actually doing internally, they're not using any open source tool. They're using their own tools. If you are working in the industry, you might be aware of. So what is happening over there? What's the objective over here? How can we fix this problem? What do you think? कैसे solve करना चाहिए इसे? क्या कर सकते हैं स्पेसिफिक सिनेरियो में? एनी गेसेस, एनी आइडियाज, एनी थॉट्स यू हैव कि हाँ ये कर सकते हैं, इससे हमारी वो प्रॉब्लम सॉल्व हो सकती है? एनीवन? बताओ, क्या कर सकते हैं? सबसे पहले प्रॉब्लम समझ में आया? प्रॉब्लम क्या है? इज द प्रॉब्लम स्टेटमेंट इज क्लियर टू एवरीवन? व्हाट इज द प्रॉब्लम स्टेटमेंट? किसी को कोई डाउट है प्रॉब्लम समझने में? नो डाउट्स, राइट? एग्जैक्टली. तो कहीं ना कहीं, यस, इट्स क्वाइट अ बिग टास्क, दैट्स ट्रू. कहीं ना कहीं हम यहाँ पे, आप बोल सकते हो कि हमें फाइन ट्यूनिंग की जरूरत है. डू यू गाइस एग्री विद मी? In this case, we need fine tuning. Is this correct? बेसिकली अगर मेरे पास में एक ऐसा तरीका हो जहां पे मैं अपने जो कॉन्फिडेंशियल इंटरनल डॉक्यूमेंट्स हैं कंपनी के, उसको भी अपने एलएलएम पे ट्रेन कर पाऊं, और फिर मैं अगर उससे क्वेश्चन पूछूं किसी इंटरनल चीजों का, तो वो मुझे एक अप्रोप्रिएट आंसर दे सकता है, राइट? अभी प्रॉब्लम क्या हो रही है कि लार्ज लैंग्वेज बेस्ड मॉडल्स जो है वो ओपन सोर्स है, और वहां पे मेरे पास में जो इंटरनल कंपनी का डेटा है वो फीडेड नहीं है, तो मेरे पास आंसर नहीं आ रहा. अगर मैं अपने एलएलएम बेस्ड मॉडल को फाइन ट्यून कर दूं, इफ आई विल बी एबल टू फाइन ट्यून माय documents on these large language based tools, then definitely I will be able to get the appropriate response. Is this correct? Now, this is where the concept of this RAG application comes into picture. Need समझ में आए? What is the need for this? Now we will see how it is doing it. What is the complete end-to-end production-based pipeline to create it? But is the need is clear? Does that need the company document data is also large? I mean, if the company data is limited, uh, can we still using fine-tuning? No, it all depends. So there is no as such need that document data should also be large, right? Still, if it is limited, fine tuning is required. The only reason is, I think few days back when I was taking your session, I was telling you that uh, whatever the lead code based questions we have, if you are asking those set of questions to the chat GPT or any of the LLM based tool, it will be able to give you the correct response. But as soon as you will tweak any DSA problem of lead code, and let's suppose that it's not available on any of the Wikipedia website or any of the other platform, it is not able to give you a response, or it is giving you a response which is hallucinated. Do you guys remember that? The problem is here also, the main trouble, the main issue is, even though your data is limited or it would be huge, my model, LLM based model, doesn't take care of that. The simple point is, because that specific data is not being trained on top of this LLM, it will give you a wrong result, hallucinated result, or maybe the abrupt answer. So even though the data is large or big, that's not a concern. The point is, we have to make sure that somehow we will be able to bring some kind of a procedure, some kind of a pipeline, so that my LLM based model will be able to give me appropriate response by fetching the relevant details from that data. Is this clear? So the concern is not how big or small is my company data. The concern is how I will make sure that LLM will be aware about that data, so that if I'm asking any question to this LLM, it will be able to give me the appropriate answer. Now, this is the complete thing which we have to understand today. Is this point is clear to everyone? All good? And fine tuning, but it's not exactly fine tuning we will do today. In RAG, it's a different level of concept that we will implement. But fine tuning, I have said because I am expecting many people are already aware about this stuff. Okay. Who is the end user here? So, meaning what, Suma? Like, you're talking about the tools part? Like, from where we're asking this query? So, as a user, we are the people who are asking the questions, and we are asking the questions to these LLM based tools only. Now, in a different sort of ways. Somehow, we are not directly giving the data to the LLM also, but still we will be able to get the appropriate answers also. How is that possible? That is what we have discussed via RAG. It's a, by the way, difficult task to do, but we will see how can we able to do it end to end. चले आगे. So if you will read this definition of RAG once again, you can see. Read this and you can let me know whether you understood it. RAG is the process of optimizing the output of large language model. So it references an authoritative knowledge base outside of its training data before generating a response. LLM are trained on vast volume of data, use billions of parameters to generate the original output for tasks like answering questions, translating the language, completing the sentences. RAG extends the already powerful capabilities of LLMs to specific domains or organizations' internal knowledge base, or without the need to retain the model. It's a cost-effective approach to improving the LLM output so it remains relevant, accurate, useful in various contexts. क्या definitions अब समझ में आती है? After this knowledge, is this making sense to everyone? What is mentioned over here? Now, how we can do this? That's a secondary thing which we will discuss today. But is this definition is clear to everyone? यही बताया मैंने. Read this and give me the confirmation. एंड यूजर यहाँ पर भी एलएलएम ही होगा. क्वेश्चन हम ही कर रहे होंगे, बट अब हम कुछ ऐसा करने वाले हैं जहां पे जब हम इंटरनल टूल्स को लेके भी, इंटरनल डॉक्यूमेंट्स को लेके भी क्वेश्चन करेंगे, तो हमारा टूल अप्रोप्रिएट रिजल्ट देगा. वो कैसे देगा? दैट इज द डिस्कशन पॉइंट व्हिच वी शुड हैव अहेड. Is this clear to everyone? Can I get a quick confirmation from everyone over here? All good? What about others? Perfect. Perfect. So now, in RAG, we have in the production pipeline two important steps. The first step is called as ingestion, or what we call as indexing. The second step is what we call as retrieval. And if we will be able to understand these two steps, our RAG is finished. So our now main concern is to understand these two topics. Okay. Listen it very carefully. What is the meaning of ingestion? Or what is the meaning of indexing? So basically what we will do over here, let's say you have some internal document. For today's demonstration, we will take one PDF. We will take one PDF. Now, let's say this PDF is the internal document of the company, which is not available publicly on any of the website. Now, what first of all, our very first step is to break this PDF into what we call as chunks. So what we will do, one PDF can have multiple chunks. I hope everybody understands chunks. Breaking the complete document into multiple chunks. Because if we will pass in one go, again, there will be a token limit for every specific model, whatever you are using. Have you guys observed that at your own end when you're exploring? For every model, we have a token limit. So we cannot pass our complete PDF in one go. So what we will do, we will try to break this PDF into multiple chunks. Once you will be able to break this PDF into multiple chunks, what's the next step? I remember in the very first class, we have discussed about something called as vectors, vector embeddings. Do you guys remember that? Now in every chunk, we have a textual document. We will be having a textual data. So what we will do is we will try to take the textual data, convert it into tokens. For every token, we will be having a numeric embedding, basically what we call as a vector embedding. Everybody knows this concept because our machines don't able to understand directly any textual data. So it will convert that data into a embedding, which we call as vector embedding. Now to store this PDF vector embeddings, we have something called as vector database. So you can assume that this is a database. This is a DB, which we called as vector DB, which is basically used to store the vector embeddings of the original PDF. Basically, this is the I would say database which actually stores the confidential data for us, which we cannot locate publicly. Now we have different flavors of vector DBs. Pinecone, if you have heard of, Quadrant DB, if you have heard of. There are many extra DB, vector DBs we have. We will discuss today. We will take one which we call as Quadrant DB in our discussion. Why? Because it's quite fast. Their performance is very good. It's open source, freely available, and we can easily use that. So we will use this in our implementation. This part is done. Till so far it is clear. All good. Now, okay, this is where we will be having a DB available. Once you will be able to store your PDF embeddings to a vector DB finally, this whole process is what we are calling it as a indexing or ingestion. Basically, you have ingested your original data to a database. Give me a confirmation. Is this clear? Simple process. How can we implement it? Next step. So don't overthink about that. First of all, get the understanding correct, approach correct, and then implementation will be very easy for you after that. So if I will just try to fetch any of the images, mm, Perfect. I think we can take this specific image for our understanding. This is what we have understood. See this? Let me copy it over here and just give me the confirmation, is this correct? See this. So we have a knowledge base, which we are, for our example, taking it as a PDF. It can be anything, any knowledge base that we will be having. So what is happening is this knowledge base is basically we are trying to load this. So we will be using loader in implementation as well to load that knowledge base. It can be a database, it can be a PDF document, it can be a Word document, it can be anything. Then you will convert that into a document. You will split it into chunks. So you will be having a different chunks or document snippets. Now you will be having some embedding machine which is available with you, which will basically convert each and every document snippet to the embeddings that we will be having. And then we are directly storing these embeddings inside the vector database. So in the vector DB, there is a sort of a mapping of individual document or individual chunk with its appropriate embedding. So is this indexing process is clear to everyone? Give me the confirmation. Is this clear? Any doubt anyone is having till this point? First step is clear, right? Can I get a quick confirmation from everyone whosoever is watching me live? Because if this is not clear, implementation is very difficult for you. You will be like, "Okay, why we are doing so? What is the major need for that?" So is this clear why both of these things are going inside this vector database? Because there will be a mapping, kind of a key value pair. So key will be, let's say, individual document snippet. Corresponding to that, there will be a value which is a corresponding embedding for the same. That's the main reason. All good, right? All good. The second step is now the step of retrieval. The step of retrieval. Retrieval means indexing means or ingestion means that we are trying to store our original knowledge base, original data to a vector DB. Retrieval means somehow if now user will try to write any query, he will be or she will be able to get the response. This is the meaning of retrieval, right? So if let's say this PDF which we are passing today, let's say it belongs to any interview based thing. I have a plan to upload one PDF which is by the name of ACE the Data Science Interview. Have you heard of this specific book? You might find in my background also in the bookshelf. So few months back, I got the PDF of this book. And this is the PDF which we will use for our demonstration purpose. Now retrieval means that now, let's say in the indexing step, we will be having a embeddings of this PDF. The next step will be, if let's say in the retrieval process, a user is asking a query of any interview question of data science, maybe what is machine learning? What is machine learning? So what I want is that basically this specific query should go inside this PDF and whatever be the definition written in this specific book, that specific definition I will be able to get. That's the idea, right? This is the meaning of retrieval. So how will that be possible? Can you tell me what should be the step to retrieve the data from this vector DB? So this PDF somehow is available in the form of embeddings inside the above vector DB. And that's what we have done in our indexing step. Now, my main concern is that if a user is asking any query at the time of retrieval, automatically this will go inside this vector DB and will be able to give me the appropriate response. Can you guess how could that be possible? What should we do over here to get the response? Any guesses, anyone? क्या कर सकते हैं यहाँ पे क्या करना चाहिए क्या अप्रोच होनी चाहिए you have to define the preference to fetch the data first okay that's true but उससे पहले भी एक और step करना चाहिए मुझे लगता है what could be that क्या हमारी machine What is machine learning question को समझेगी क्या? Exactly. So what Vishal has mentioned, does the query needs to be converted into vector DB also and then find the closest distance? That's the perfect answer. That's what I was looking for. So basically, अगर मैं क्वेश्चन डालती तो मेरी मशीन को फिर से नहीं पता कि इसका मतलब क्या है. तो यहाँ पे क्या होगा? सबसे पहला स्टेप क्या होना चाहिए? First step could be that again for this specific query, there should be a vector embedding for this query. बताओ होना चाहिए कि नहीं? होना चाहिए? So that my machine will be able to understand the literal meaning of the specific query. Now I know that the entire data is available inside this vector DB. Plus, I do have the access of large language based model, right? So now what it will do is it will try to find out what is the closest answer of the specific query. Maybe inside vector DB, what is the closest value based on the distance? I think we have talked about word embedding. We have talked about how internally model evaluate and able to perform the search and give us the closest answer. Do you guys remember that? Our very first discussion. In fact, I told you to go through with the entire course to get a better understanding of the same. So somehow there will be a similarity search internally, which will be able to fetch the closest result. And then that specific result will be given to the user. So if I will just try to showcase you RAG retrieval now. I think this actually represents both the steps. So whatever I have talked about is actually the summary of this. See this very carefully. Am I saying correctly? So this is a step that we have covered up for indexing. And this is the step that we have covered up to retrieve the documents or to access the correct results. Basically retrieval. See this and let me know. Once PDF and questions are loaded in the vector DB, no, Divakar, query should not be loaded in the vector DB. Again, I am repeating my point. For the given query, query can be changed, right? So inside the vector DB, we are storing majorly our original data. Query can be changed. So for the given query, we are doing the embedding. And then we are trying to find out the similar, most appropriate result from the vector DB. And then that will be giving the appropriate response or the retrieved documents. Do you think it makes sense to store the queries, vector embeddings also in the vector DB? No, right? Because our original data is knowledge base only. In fact, in this image also, they should not redirect it to the vector DB. It should just say query embeddings will be there. Now there will be a similarity search internally going on. Let me write it over here to rectify this. So there is a sort of a similarity search. Whichsoever is having a maximum match, that specific output will be given as a retrieved document. Exactly. Just embedding of the query, not loading to the DB, because that doesn't make sense. If in future I really want to use that query again, maybe I can think of it by changing the structure, not for today's scenario. Because that query today I'm asking what is machine learning, tomorrow any other user will come and they can ask deep learning as well. So why we are wasting the space over there? So if I will just again go back, This is also a nice image. See this? See step by step and let me know, is this clear? If data is changing, can we do delta load in vector DB in real time? That's true. So in real time, we keep on updating. So it's like we're trying to apply a cycle. After 24 hours or 10 hours, automatically it will go and fetch the updated data and upload it in the vector DB. So it's automated still. We don't need to worry about that. Is this step by step, everything one, two, three, four, and five? Five steps are there to retrieve the result. Is this something which is making sense to everyone? And let me know. Can we just get response from vector DB without using LLM? That's true. You can get that. But if you're using LLM also, so in that case, chances are very high that you will be able to get most appropriate response. You would be telling me, "Yeah, I just have a normal document with me, and that is the only source of truth, and accordingly, we're getting an answer." Or, in other words, I have a document plus all the relevant content available on Google. Combining both of them will give me an answer. Which one is more appropriate as per you? Obviously, if you're using a LLM also with that, that would be much more enhanced answer. As far as if you'll ask from me, that's my thought process. What do you think? Does the query embedding and knowledge embedding get compared without help of model where the existing model rule starts from? No. So we will use the model to get that similarity search done. So we do have, so everything we will implement via LangChain. And inside that, we have a similarity search method which we will use to get that task done. Okay. Uh, will you teach us LangChain or LangGraph? No. So that is something which was the prerequisite. But if you don't really know about that, it's completely fine. I will showcase you documentation. So you will observe that whatever functions we are using, I will showcase you that, for every specific function, we do have a proper definition and you will be able to understand via that what actually this is doing. And it's kind of a wrapper which actually does all our tasks. For example, the task of doing the splitting, chunking, getting that vector DB, doing the embeddings, everything we will be able to do via that. And for every specific task, we do have an appropriate function which we will use, and we will see at the time when we are writing the code in the documentation also, so that you will be able to have a better understanding of what we are doing. So nothing will be black box for you at the end of the day. So if you don't know that, then also it's completely fine. Okay. But obviously, after this workshop will get over, I will definitely suggest you everyone to go through it and have a better understanding of these things, if possible. Right? All good. clear. If we will be able to implement this retrieval and if we will be able to implement this indexing, both of these steps, our task is done. Our RAG application is ready. Now, if I'm showcasing you for the PDF, you can at your end can work around for DB, can work around for any of the Word document, any of other PDF. It's just a knowledge base, and you can change that knowledge base and accordingly modify the code. Is this clear to everyone? All good? Is the understanding of RAG is clear? So if we will go back to the main document, this is a very interesting document. We do have multiple articles available on RAG, but I really find this article amazing. This is the article by AWS. So I will definitely suggest everyone to, after this session, go through with this and have a better understanding of the same. So here, if you will be able to observe, why RAG is important. Let's read it out. LLMs are a key AI technology powering intelligent chatbots and other NLP applications. The goal is to create bots that can answer questions in various contexts by cross-referencing the authoritative knowledge sources. Unfortunately, nature of LLM introduces unpredictability in LLM responses. Additionally, LLM training data is static, introduces a cutoff date on the knowledge it has. So basically, what are the challenges of LLM include? You can read it out at your end. So what is the main thing? It's an approach to solve some of the challenges which reflects LLM to retrieve the relevant information from the predetermined knowledge sources. Organizations have greater control over the generated text output and users gain insights into how the LLM generate the responses. Benefits क्या क्या है? Cost effective implementation है, current information हमें मिल जाती है, यूजर का ट्रस्ट काफी ज्यादा बढ़ जाता है जब आप एक अथॉरिटेटिव इंफॉर्मेशन को वहां पे पास करते हो तो देयर विल बी अ मोर कंट्रोल बाय द डेवलपर एंड देन वी हैव हाउ दिस रैग एप्लीकेशन कंप्लीटली वर्क so you can just read this out, the complete thing, and then this complete I would say flow which is given over here. What is the difference between retrieval, augmented generation, and semantic search? It's also one of the most important thing. But I feel now after this discussion, if you will read this entire article, things should be pretty much clear to everyone. Do you want to read it once today itself, right now? Go ahead and read this out, and then we can start further. Just read this specific portion. How does RAG work? Read it out and then give me a confirmation in the chat window that whether this specific part and this internal flow is this clear or not. Just go ahead. I have shared already the link of this document in the chat. I'm again sharing it. Please go ahead. And if any of the term is not clear, go ahead and ask from me. Is there any size limit for PDF upload? No size limit, because anyhow we are converting the data into chunks, right? So if the PDF size is quite huge, chunks will be more. If it is less, chunks will be less accordingly. So issue won't come. That's the main idea of doing a splitter, right? Also, it depends on the token size. It varies from model to model. So if you're using a mini model, it might be the case you will get some issue. In that case, try to use some advanced model. Issues won't come. You can check the limit size and everything in the documentation part. If at any point of time while doing the implementation, you're getting these sort of issues, okay? Everything is available in the documentation. So let me open and showcase you. You can see how many tokens, how much is the context length they're providing, what is the pricing it is having, GPT-5, GPT-5 mini. So you can see over here the context length. So in one, I would say chunk, how much is the length it can entertain, and what is the token size it is accepting, and how much is the price. So you have the money available, right, in your OpenAI account. So how much money will be charged? Accordingly, you can check. So everything is available over here. You can just go through with that and accordingly make sure if you are facing any sort of trouble, try to advance your model a bit and issues will be resolved accordingly, right? So there are open models available. You can check that as well. So we will use this technique only, embedding language models, which converts data into numerical representations, stores it in a vector table. This process creates a knowledge library that the generative AI models can understand. See one by one all the paragraph. I think you will be able to understand it. Still, if you will face any line something is not clear, you can always let me know. You can see the best example they have provided in this to retrieve the relevant information. In the header of update external data, the question which you have asked Divakar, that would be answered. So this is the same question they are saying. To maintain current information for retrieval, asynchronously update the documents, update embedding and presentation of document. You can do this through automated real-time processes or periodic batch processing. This is a common challenge in data analytics field. Different data science approaches to change the management can be used. And then we have a flow. All good. All good. Yes, yes, Suma. So every company, if you will observe now, they have today RAG system available internally. So whatever code we will do also, this is actually based on production part, which we will do live. Why we don't train model itself RAG versus train versus fine tuning? So Divakar, like that's what a few minutes back when we started our discussion, we were discussing. देखो अगर आप ये बोल रहे हो कि ट्रेनिंग ही कर लो डेटा के साथ में तो कंपनी का अलग अलग कंपनी स्पेसिफिक डेटा है और जब आप ट्रेनिंग का नाम लेते हो तो एलएलएम के साथ में उसका ट्रेनिंग पॉसिबल इसलिए नहीं है क्योंकि एलएलएम पे ऑलरेडी बहुत सारा पैसा और रिसोर्सेज लग चुका है तो अगर कंपनी स्क्रैच से ट्रेनिंग शुरू करती है कंबाइन करके डेटा को, तो वो फिजिबल नहीं है। फिजिबल है तो मतलब कोस्ट इफेक्टिव नहीं है। आई थिंक ये जो टेक्निक इन्होंने यूज करी दैट इज मच मोर इफेक्टिव एज कंपेरेबल टू ट्रेनिंग एवरीथिंग फ्रॉम स्क्रैच, बिकॉज ट्रेनिंग के लिए रिसोर्सेज चाहिए और रिसोर्सेज के लिए पैसा चाहिए। सो व्हाट वी आर डूइंग नाउ कि हम एलएलएम को भी यूज कर रहे हैं और हम अपने इंटरनल काम को भी कर पा रहे हैं विद द हेल्प ऑफ दिस एप्लीकेशन। दैट्स द मेन रीजन, राइट? Can we fetch data from web page and can store in vector db? Definitely you can. You can do that. If you want, if you feel कि कोई ऐसा आर्टिकल है, कोई ऐसा इंपॉर्टेंट इंफॉर्मेशन है जो कि आप लोगों के लिए या फिर आपकी कंपनी के लिए रेलेवेंट है, तो आप उसको स्टोर भी कर सकते हो और उसको वेक्टर डीबी में स्टोर इनटेक भी कर सकते हो। ऑब्वियसली देखो, ये वेक्टर डीबी में स्टोर करने के लिए एक टाइम के बाद पैसा चाहिए होगा, कंपनीज लगाती हैं, तो ऑब्वियसली वो ये मेक श्योर करेंगे कि जो भी हम डेटा को स्टोर कर रहे हैं वो रेलेवेंट हो, वो इंपॉर्टेंट हो। तो अगर वो इंपॉर्टेंट होगा, अवेलेबल है, तो दे कैन इजिली फेच एंड दे कैन इजिली ट्राई टू स्टोर दैट, राइट? हाउ द एलएलएम गेट मोर कॉन्टेक्स्ट थ्रू एनहांस्ड प्रॉम्प्ट्स एडेड बाय वेक्टर डीबी? सो बेसिकली इसका मतलब ये है कि लेट्स से यूजर ने बोला व्हाट इज मशीन लर्निंग, ठीक है? ध्यान से सुनना। पीडीएफ में लिखा हुआ था मशीन लर्निंग इज अ सबसेट ऑफ एआई in which user train data based on historical part and will be able to get the decisions or the predictions without any human intervention. इसी learning के बारे में वेबसाइट पे एलएलएम के पास भी बहुत सारा डेटा अवेलेबल था। हुआ ये कि rather than copy pasting the exact definition from LLM from that PDF from that knowledge base, उसने उस डेफिनेशन को काफी और अच्छे से मॉडिफाई करके और डेप्थ में डेफिनेशन को दिया। अब वो ऐसा नहीं कि सिर्फ उसी डेटा पे इंस्टोर्ड है, वो उसको भी ले रहा है जो कि आउटसाइड द नॉलेज बेस था, टू गिव यू अ बेटर आंसर। फॉर एग्जाम्पल, मैं आपको एक सिंपल एग्जाम्पल देती हूँ। मैंने पूछा कि लेट से, अभी एग्जाम्पल मैंने यहाँ पे पढ़ा था, क्या एग्जाम्पल था? रिगार्डिंग हाउ मच एनुअल लीव डू आई हैव, ठीक है? नॉलेज बेस के पास वो गया और उसने पॉलिसी, एनुअल लीव पॉलिसी डॉक्यूमेंट को फेच कर लिया, उस स्पेसिफिक चंक को फेच कर लिया क्योंकि वहीं पे डेटा था। अब डेटा हो सकता है कि प्रॉपर यूजर के, मतलब यूजर को कैसा आंसर चाहिए, यूजर को आंसर चाहिए कि एक अच्छा फॉर्म में एक रिस्पॉन्स हो, राइट? हे यू आर आस्किंग अबाउट दिस क्वेरी, दिस इज द रिजल्ट व्हिच आई गॉट, समथिंग लाइक दिस, जो कि थोड़ा सा फ्रेंडली हो। आप क्यों चैट जीपीटी को यूज करते हो, परप्लेक्सिटी को यूज करते हो? क्योंकि आपको जो रिस्पॉन्स मिलता है वो एक फ्रेंडली रिस्पॉन्स होता है कि नहीं होता? होता है ना? आपको कोई रूड रिस्पॉन्स तो नहीं मिलता। अगर आप सिर्फ नॉलेज बेस की तरफ रहोगे तो नॉलेज बेस में जो आंसर होगा वो आपको अपफ्रंट मिलेगा, ऐसा नहीं आंसर नहीं मिलेगा। बट हो सकता है कि वहां पे सिर्फ डॉक्यूमेंट के अंदर एक टेबल बना हुआ हो और डायरेक्टली आपको एक टेबल मिल जाए। जब एलएलएम उसके साथ इंक्लूड होता है तो वो एक आपको एक ऐसा आंसर देगा जो कि एक फ्रेंडली आंसर होगा। नॉलेज जो है वो एक नॉलेज बेस से भी ली हुई होगी, बट उसको ये पता होगा कि ट्रीट कैसे करना है, एक बंदे को रिस्पॉन्स कैसे करना है बेस्ड ऑन द प्रॉम्प्ट व्हिच दैट पर्सन इज आस्किंग। दोनों को कंबाइन होके वो आंसर देगा कि हेलो, आई होप यू आर डूइंग वेल, दिस इज द एनुअल लीव्स व्हिच यू डू हैव, और फिर वो लास्ट में लिखेगा भी कि आई होप यू विल एंजॉय दैट लीव्स, राइट? कुछ कुछ होता है ना जब हम प्रॉम्प्ट्स लिखते हैं अपने एलएलएम के अंदर, ऊपर एक प्रॉपर हमारे पास जेस्चर आता है, फिर एक मेन कॉन्टेक्स्ट आता है जो हमारा आंसर होता है, फिर लास्ट में दोबारा से टाइप लिखी हुई होती है और फिर वो पूछता भी है सामने से कि डू यू वांट समथिंग एल्स टू टॉक अबाउट, और हम लिखते हैं नहीं नहीं हमारे लिए हो गया। वो सब चीजें आपको तभी आएंगी जब आप एलएलएम को साथ में इंक्लूड करके पास करोगे, नहीं तो वो सिर्फ और सिर्फ फॉर्मली उस इंफॉर्मेशन को रिट्रीव करेगा नॉलेज बेस से और आपको आंसर दे देगा। समझ में आया व्हाट इज द मेन पर्पस ऑफ getting a context through enhanced prompts plus vector DB? अगर अच्छा चाहिए तो आपको एलएलएम को इंक्लूड करना पड़ेगा। अगर आपको सिर्फ आंसर से मतलब है तो नॉलेज बेस भी चलेगा। दैट्स द मेन पॉइंट आई वांट टू कन्वे ओवर हियर। इज दिस क्लियर नाउ? वेक्टर डीबी में प्राइमरी की जैसा कॉन्सेप्ट होता है क्या? नाउ टॉक अबाउट वेक्टर डीबीज। आई होप रैग क्लियर हो गया, राइट? अपना तो डेप्थ पे चले वेक्टर डीबी के क्या होता है, कैसे दिखता है, इंटरनली इंफॉर्मेशन कैसे स्टोर होती है, और उससे दिवाकर का भी आंसर क्लियर हो जाएगा। Shall we move ahead now further? There was one query regarding storing the data from website. If it's public, that's already accessible by LLM, right? Exactly. दैट्स माय पॉइंट सुमा। सो तभी मैंने बोला कि अगर वो आपको लगता है कि इतना रिलेवेंट है कि आप बार बार उस क्वेरी को फेच कर रहे हो, और आपको ऐसा लगता है कि मे बी इन फ्यूचर होता है ना, कुछ वेबसाइट्स अवेलेबल होती है बट फ्यूचर में वो अपडेट हो जाती है, वो इंफॉर्मेशन वहां पर अवेलेबल नहीं होती, एंड यू फील इट्स वेरी वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट फॉर योर प्रोजेक्ट टू होल्ड, सो यू कैन store it in your own database. But if it is easily accessible, you know that it's something which I can easily access it from the outside world. LLM पे prompt डालते ही मेरे को मिल रहा है. So there is no need. So think twice when you're using these resources, because as I have mentioned previously also, vector DBs are for free for limited storage. And for example, for now we are discussing very simple things. We don't have a very huge amount of data. Even the PDF that we will upload is quite small. But when we are working with the real time data, when we're working in the companies, we have a lot of data. So we have to think twice whenever we are doing these kind of things, because the cost is linked with that. I hope it is clear to everyone, right? All good? Shall we move ahead? So there are many answers which depends on your use case, on your question. And accordingly, you have to take the decision on the spot. So on the specific of business use case, how you should approach. But you will always have a good thought process in terms of how can I optimize my code, how can I optimize my resources, how can I reduce my company's cost. If you will do that, then only you will become the asset for the company, then only companies will appreciate you for your work. That's the whole point. All good? Hope we interact with LLM models after implementing RAG. If it's how to model knows, then it should get from RAG or already trained data. Yes, that's true. So you will, not an issue. No need to worry about that part. You will. Perfect. Shall we now move ahead further? Let's talk about a bit vector database. This is a very good discussion in terms of when it was firstly came. People were very confused, like what we are doing over here, and why there is the origin of vector DB if we will be having already so many databases available with us. So you can see a vector database stores, indexes, queries, numerical representation of data called as vector embeddings, which simply capture the semantic meaning, relationships in a high dimensional space. What are vector embeddings? We already have covered up in our previous discussions in our very first class. So I hope it is clearly you guys remember that. But here you can see. Let me just fetch the image. Oh, it's available on LinkedIn page. Nice. So can you see over here? Basically, if we will go back. I am looking forward to the image, but let me check over here. It's okay. anyhow, you know the context, right? So basically, why this is being useful? I think this flowchart clearly explains that. This is by Pinecone, and Pinecone is also another vector database which we have. There is a huge list of vector databases that we will be having. Pinecone is one of them. So, see this chart. Is this something which is relatable, which is clear to you? Tell me. Purpose of vector embeddings is right. Clear, right? Now, दिवाकर have asked one question that vector DB में primary की जैसा concept भी होता है जैसे हमारे पास में RDBMS based systems के अंदर होता है तो kind of exact primary की नहीं बोलते but IDs होती है हमारे पास. So what usually happens for every specific vector or the embedding, we will be having a ID which is kind of a unique identifier which we also call as UUID जो स्पेसिफिकली उस वेक्टर को यूनिकली रिप्रेजेंट करता है. सो आरडीबीएमएस में उसे हम प्राइमरी की बोलते हैं और वेक्टर डीबीज के अंदर जो हमारी वेक्टर इम्बेडिंग्स होती है उसके साथ में जो आईडीज होती है उसको बेसिकली आईडी नॉर्मल आईडी बोलते हैं जिसे हम यूयूआईडी भी बोलते हैं. आई होप इट इज क्लियर टू एवरीवन. सो हर एक स्पेसिफिक डेटाबेस के अंदर जो स्ट्रक्चर होता है इम्बेडिंग्स को स्टोर करने का वो सिमिलर ही होता है कि हर एक स्पेसिफिक कॉन्टेक्स्ट का और एप्लीकेशन का एम्बेडिंग होगा उसके कॉरेस्पॉन्डिंग उसका आईडी होगा और किस स्पेसिफिक वेक्टर के लिए एम्बेडिंग है वो मैपिंग भी होगी जैसे कि मैंने थोड़ी देर पहले भी बताया था. Exactly, Divakar. Yes, it's kind of a string based data that you will be having. So if I was just trying to fetch any image for the same, but I couldn't get it. But I hope you're getting my point, what I'm trying to convey over here. Um this is the structure. Can you see here now? So we have this ID in the form of a string. Then we have this kind of a numeric vectors available. Then there is something called as a payload. What is the meaning of a payload? Do you guys know what is the meaning of a payload? Any guesses? डेटा इटसेल्फ जिसको हमने लास्ट सेशन में मैंने शायद बताया था मेटा डेटा भी बोलते हैं. मीनिंग डेटा अबाउट डेटा. तो इट इज समहाउ गिविंग द कॉन्टेक्स्ट कि कौन से स्पेसिफिक वेक्टर के लिए हम इस तरीके की एम्बेडिंग्स को निकाल रहे हैं. डायमेंशंस विल बी न्यूमेरिकल ऑब्वियसली, right? There will be a numeric vector embedding, right? Dimensions के बारे में in the very first class we have discussed as well. Dimensions meaning the properties, the features of a given vector. अगर आप लोग को याद हो तो मैंने एक एग्जांपल लिया था कि if let's say we are trying to convert king to the to its embedding, so rich करके एक फीचर बोला, poor करके बोला, I don't remember the exact naming, but I think I have showcased you. So इस तरीके से maybe we can have 1024 features or dimensions as well. उसी को हम dimensions बोलते हैं, right? So on the basis of that, we do have this kind of numbering which is available over here. All good? Great. Now what we will do is we will be working on this quadrant vector DB. So if you can open at your end, you can see it's a high performance vector search at scale, powering the next generation of AI applications with advanced open source vector similarity search technology. ये क्यों? क्योंकि पहली बात तो ऑब्वियसली ये हाई परफॉर्मेंस है. दूसरी बात जब हम इस पे चीजें सर्च करते हैं तो काफी फास्टली विद मिनिमम लेटेंसी वी विल बी एबल टू गेट द रिजल्ट्स. And that's the main reason I will be using in my implementation this quadrant DB only to do the stuff.